How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. The Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt. That is Shawn. Welcome to our show. Shawn, how's it going today?
Doing all right, buddy. A little tired. Woke up in the middle of the night. I have this problem lately. The rain sucks. Kind of those kind of days. For those that were watching, I did not close on my house this past week. Both closings this week got delayed till next week.
Okay, so you will be closing on your new house next week.
Yeah, so new construction is a little bit different, and there are certain things that have to be done prior to closing, right? So naturally, the builder's trying to get everything done for our timeline that we set. But what happens is that appraiser has to go back in the property because they did an initial appraisal when there was just studs in the place. And they give a value based on what was going to be done. So now they have to go back in and do a final report and make sure that everything was done and that the property is of value. But what happens is, we're not quite done, and a lot of the appliances, because of COVID, are delayed. And the lender needs appliances in the property. So we're trying to work with the bank to see whether we need all of the appliances because we're getting some of them. So I think we're going to be okay to get that inspection tomorrow, close Monday.
Closing Monday. And what happened with the other one? Why didn't that one close on time?
The other one, can I call out the lender? Should I do that?
Online lender.
You know what? There's an online lender, and I've had some good experiences in the past, but the listing agent said, "Oh, I don't like this lender," and I was like, "Well, my client's refiing with them as well, so there's not much I can do." Turns out that they delayed the settlement, and they keep delaying it. And they should have had this stuff done a long time ago. So when we recommend lenders, we recommend them for a reason. We have no other, ins and outs for it. We just want to close on time. And when we don't close on time, it causes us stress. It causes you stress. And my client's on vacation. What do you think he's doing all vacation? Worrying about his sale. So don't do it. Just take our recommendations. I'm telling you, our lenders are better. All right.
Recommend them for a reason. All right, guys. Well, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about inflated home inspection repair items, a new home inspection app, and restrictive showings. So let's start with inflated home inspection repair items. And imagine a scenario: you put an offer on a house that's accepted, and then you do the home inspection. A lot comes back, so you go out, you get a few estimates. But Shawn, those estimates appear to be a little on the high end, and of course you have a limited time to do the home inspection, a limited time to get your estimated repair items. So now you're looking at this large number. Do you back out? Do you move forward? Do you ask for this huge credit amount? Shawn, what are your thoughts on this, and do you have a personal anecdote that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think that first, there's two different types of home inspectors, right? Well, probably three, but there are some that are really good and educational, and they tell you everything that's wrong with the house, but they're educational about it, and they say, all right, this is something you should be scared about, or this isn't something that's really big, and about what it'll cost, right? Then there are others that will scare you to death, and they think it's their job to destroy the house, right? Just completely destroy it and say, I did my job. I'm a home inspector, and I got paid for killing that deal. They're out there, and they drive me crazy. Educate us. Don't scare the hell out of people. If it's a scary item, scare us, right? But, if you have two home inspectors at the same house, you get two totally different reports.
Right.
So that leads into repair estimates. Repair estimates, I'm starting to see them more and more with home inspections. I got one last week where these items were pretty minor, and it was for a condo down in Crystal City. And I felt like, man, for these items, they were in the thousands of dollars for really minor items. For the most part, a handyman could have taken care of most of them, and I think they were probably 2/3 too high. If they were $3,000, we could have got it done for $1,000. So you have to be careful about that. And then maybe a personal experience. My brother's going through something right now. He's actually buying a house in Pittsburgh, and so so it was originally under contract, the house, really quickly, and it went out of contract based on the home inspection. And so he went and was going to write on the property, and he wrote a contract based on they gave them the home inspection. And what was wrong with it was they were saying the pipes had to be replaced underneath the house and all this stuff, and it was going to cost $7,000. So then the homeowner actually hired a company to go out and scope the drains with a camera. And I looked at the video and I was like, I mean, I'm no expert in piping, right? But I didn't see anything majorly wrong in there. So now my brother decided to write on the contract. His only contingency is to look at those pipes again. So 3 different people are going to look at it. And you might get 3 totally different results based on that thing. So you have to be careful. Not everybody is out for your interest. They might be out for their own. So just be careful.
So if you get that one high estimate, like maybe your brother got, what's the play there? Is it to quickly go out and get another estimate? Is it to ask for that high estimate repair? Well, high is relative, because if you get, a cost that something costs $10,000, that may sound really high, but what if it costs even more than that? Like, you don't know with that one single inspector.
And that's the thing is with items like that, with plumbing, where you have to dig up a yard, and you never know what it's going to come out with. And so that's the scary thing is I would rather in that instance have the homeowner take care of it before I actually purchase the property, because you just don't know what's going to happen. But then again, it's a huge repair. Are you going to rely on the homeowner to actually make the correct repair? Mm-hmm. So it's a hit or miss. It could go either way. But with a $7,000 repair like that for a house that in Pittsburgh costs $160,000, that's a big expense. So you have to be careful. So I don't know which way I would go on that. What do you think?
Well, I was shown a condo yesterday in Arlington, and the sliding glass doors needed to be replaced. Older high-rise 1960s. Usually these condo buildings, they may have 1 or 2 window vendors that you can get your sliding glass doors replaced with. And so we're trying to figure out the cost, because there's only 2 or 3 panels that needed to be replaced. So I asked a listing that is currently under contract about this very issue. I was like, hey, it looks like you have the same sliding glass doors. We may get them replaced if we go after this one. Do you have any idea like how much that costs? And she said they got a quote for $11,000 for like 3 sliding glass panels. And I think it comes down to like 2 main reasons. 1, they have to be custom made for this exact condo building. And then 2, the condo only has a contract with 1 specific window supplier. So maybe they're charging a surplus there. But when I talked with the original listing agent for the one that we're interested in, he goes, yeah, we got an estimate for those windows for around $4,500. So I go, oh, it sounds like you got this estimate recently. And he goes, oh, no, this was 10 years ago. I'm like, why are you telling me this estimate from 10 years? He tried to play it off like this was a recent estimate.
Wow.
And so I said, well, I just spoke with someone, and they said $11,000. Oh, well, I haven't. That was 10 years ago. They might have gone up.
Jeez.
Yeah, I think they did go up. So it pays, especially if the listing agent is telling it to you, it pays to do your research, make some phone calls, and maybe get an estimate or 2.
Yeah, and keep in mind that you have a finite time. You have a home inspection contingency. You have a time period to get this negotiation done. And if you're asking for certain things or asking for a certain dollar amount, you have to get that over quickly. You could kill a deal very quickly by asking for too much. I've had that happen where clients of mine went too strong. And I'm like, listen, there's a time to be too strong and a time to pull back, right? You have to be smart about this. If you love this house and you know you're not going anywhere, don't piss off the seller, because you're going to get a lot less than you thought you could have. And that happens all the time. They go strong. They ask for a crazy amount of money for, relatively minor items. And they get booted and they're like, no, take it or leave it, Right. And they could have gotten a couple thousand, but now they got nothing. So just be careful on that. You have to know how to negotiate each one, how the seller is feeling, talk to the agent. But in the end, look out for your own interests, right? I mean, we're representing you. We want to get you the best deal that we can, and we're representing your interests. We don't want you to get into a bind.
Well, Shawn, if only there was an app that could tell you how much these repairs would cost. Wow, transition of the year. Our next topic is on this new app called Majordomo, which is an awesome name, by the way. This is an app that is basically for pre-inspections of properties, and it gives you a home rating called a Domo Score. And Domo, that means house. Is that house in Latin or something? Majordomo, like the leader of the house or whatnot. But essentially what you do, is you walk through the house, you note the property condition, then I believe you send the inspection report through the Domo system. You get a Domo score, and allegedly this will give you confidence in terms of how many expenses and repair items are needed. Shawn, what are your thoughts on an app for a home inspection repair list?
First, app with home inspection repair list, not a good idea. I mean, all right, I'll be honest. Right before we did this, I went to my old house. I put my old address in, and I went through and did a Domo score really quickly. It asks you 22 questions, okay? This is, so you're walking through a house and say this is pretty good for this, but it's not going to give you an idea of what's going on in the house, right? So it's going to give you a score. So you go through and you say, it asks you, are there any leaks in the gutters? Do you see any cracks in the foundation? Look at your HVAC system. Is it new? What year does it say it was manufactured? The water heater, what is the number on it and how old is it? Things like that. Windows, look at the sticker on the window. Can you tell me who, when it was put in, all that stuff. So I went through and I answered the 22 questions on the house that I just sold. And it gave me a Domo score. It gives you a score between 0 and 10,000. And it gave my house a score of 7,050, something like that. And that's just based on, I literally did it in 2 minutes. Right?
So did it tell you you're going to pay $10,000 or what?
No. So what I think it is you go through and you're like, all right, hey, I like this house. Let's run through it and do the Domo score real quickly, just to give us a basic idea of what these people think the score would be. In all honesty, you could do that on your own, right?
Yeah.
You can just say, all right, this is this old, this is this old, and this is this old. I feel pretty comfortable, right? So I think what happens is this is just, the Domo report is just a quick report that you can spit out in a couple minutes while you're in a house, or the homeowner can do it themselves. And they can kind of fund you with, maybe supply you with that score, so you have a better understanding of what's wrong with it. Or while you're going through the house, you take a couple minutes, look at these items, run it through there, and it gives you a general idea. I wouldn't base your buying the house without a contingency on this. But what we're seeing right now is people waiving their home inspections. And a lot of times they're waiving them without even doing a home inspection. So this might be a tool that could be useful in that regard, where, hey, I'm waiving my home inspection anyways. Let's just do a Domo report real quick and see what it does for us.
The article on Inman says that listing agents can leverage the app to provide additional marketing data for homes they expect to sell more quickly, but in a traditional scenario, the buyer will likely want to have the score further evaluated. Now, I'm thinking, Shawn, as listing agents, when we walk through a home, we don't need an app to tell us that the windows are old. We don't need an app to tell us that a cabinet is rusty or there's a leak in the bathroom. And then the buyer will have to further verify. So maybe if you're a first-time home buyer and maybe it's the first time you've ever walked through a house, you get the serial number, you punch in a few things, you feel a little bit warm and cozy. But I'm thinking this is an app that someone else like Zillow is going to buy. It almost looks like they're setting it up to be purchased by something else.
That's what I was thinking. I was just thinking this is like first generation, right?
Yeah.
So in the future, what's going to happen, I think, is, people are going to start uploading their reports of homes they just bought, and then it's going to compile these things. So when it goes to sell again, they'll know what was in that report, and it's just going to be going and going. So really, to start it now and to start adding all that data in, it's going to be really helpful in the future, I think. It's a really good idea. But right now, I would not base your home inspection based on this Domo score. Then after you decide that you want to purchase the house, what it says is you can then get a home inspection, upload your home inspection to this, and then they'll give you a repair estimate. So it's probably all tied in where they're in cahoots with the people that can do the work, and then they can refer this out to people.
Got it.
I think. I don't know. But anyways.
It's an interesting idea. It seems like they're the first to kind of have this. I mean, we use US Inspect, and after you do the home inspection, it tells you your repair estimate, and you can download that. But this is also a cool application. So the third topic that we're talking about are restrictive showings for properties. And obviously, in the COVID era, there are going to be restrictions. There are going to be time restrictions. There are going to be safety restrictions. There are going to be restrictions that we didn't have before. But at what point are these showing restrictives too restricted? Now, Shawn, I've shown properties where they've only allowed 3 people in, and I had a group of 5. So I went in with the first 2 buyers while the other 2 buyers hung out outside for 20 minutes and then had to go back in with shoe covers and gloves and hand sanitizer before and afterwards. That was probably the most restrictive. I've seen no children, which is pretty shocking still to me. I've seen a number limit. But what's the most shocking and most restrictive showing restriction that you've come across?
Well, I can see it. We're in a scary time, and some people are really scared about it, and other people aren't. So you just have to be respectful of what they want in their home. Okay. So I've gone through some restrictive things, especially like you have to make this appointment way in advance. You have to wear gloves.
Yeah.
Shoe
4-hour
covers,
notice.
24-hour notice.
24-hour notice.
24-hour notice is tougher, especially like, hey, I want to go see this house. Oh, we can't see it today. We have to wait till
if it's
tomorrow.
like 5 p.m. and they want to see it tomorrow at like 10 a.m.
Yeah, you can't
gotta
even do
wait
it then.
until
It's like
5
you
p.m.
can't even make the appointment. So
Right.
then you're calling the listing agent. Hey, can we just see it tomorrow? It's not 24 hours, but so that kind of it's very inconvenient on a buyer's agent side. But what I'm seeing now is there's single family homes and then there's condos, right? The single family home market right now during COVID is insanely hot. The condo market, not so much.
It's slow.
It's slow. And if you're thinking that it's hot, it's not, guys. It's slow, right? So, things are still selling. I don't want to say it's dead, right? It's not what we were in, and it's nowhere near the single family market. But what I'm running into now is basically a building saying, hey, we're restricting showings from all agents. You can only show from 10 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So you have a 6-hour window. What is that? No, 4-hour window. 4-hour window where you can show it 10 to 2. Most showings aren't at those times. And so we are now in a market where the showings aren't as often, right? We're not getting a ton of showings on the condos. And then you're restricting it to a 4-hour period when most showings don't happen anyways. You're going to really restrict the sales in the building. You're hurting the sales in the building, in my opinion. Now, I understand having things in place for COVID. That's great, But on the same side, I think contractors can go in at any time. So it's just the real estate market. So I'm like, all right, how do I get around this? And you can't really. You have to be respectful for that. So we're going to have restricted showings and restricted open houses, and that's the way it is.
So if you're looking at a single family house, the seller is in charge of the showing restrictions. If you're looking at a townhouse, the HOA, you can't just park on the lawn. You can't park in a fire lane technically. You can't park in a reserved spot. You have to follow the rules of that HOA townhome community. And if the HOA says, hey, no showings between these times, you got to follow that. And then for condos, the seller has their showing requirements, and then the condo association may require masks, as all buildings do. They may require you signing in, as most buildings do. But I have yet to see multiple buildings require a certain time frame for showings. Although people are working from home, when are they most likely to view properties? There may be some flexibility, but usually it's after work or on the weekends. So when there are buildings out there that do restrict times to show a property, that will frustrate the buyer. And I've had buyers that have even moved on because the showing restrictions were so prohibitive.
That's exactly right. So what we're dealing with now is a slower condo market. We're not seeing as many showings, and then you're restricting it further, which is going to be really tough for sales, right? And it's the truth. You have so many to look at. There are so many on the market. There are 71 2-bedroom, 2-baths along the orange line right now for sale. They can just go to the next one. And so that's what my fear is, in some of these. So I would say that, there's times to show, and we should look at those times and say, all right, this is when most of the showings happen. And it's not like we're going to have a line of people waiting to see these anymore. It's slower. So let's look at the times that when people most see them, and let's restrict it to maybe those times, right? If you want to restrict, and I understand, like, you know, people are scared about this stuff and they want their properties to be safe. So I get it, but let's do it at a time that makes sense.
So if you restrict it to, what would you say, 10 to 2, so then more people are likely to show up at this time.
Right.
So then more people are likely to run into each other.
Yeah.
So now you're just restricting the flow to an exact time. So that just to me sounds backwards. Why would you want to restrict that? I think if you're being safe and you have safety procedures in place, then you can move forward that way. I don't understand why you need to funnel everyone into the building at the same time.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Why would that be safe?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Why would you want them, you know?
Everyone come at the same time.
Yeah. In open houses, you know, we have to escort them up to the thing from the lobby one at a time, one group at a time. So then you might have people like hanging out up front. Like, so we just got to think these things through and think, all right, what makes the most sense? Really?
I don't really have a problem with the escorting.
I don't either. I think that's fine. I don't at all. I mean, I think, you know, we used to just stand in the unit and people used to just funnel up, and that's not the safest thing either, right? So I have no problem sitting in the lobby and escorting people up one at a time. I just think that the showing time restrictions we've got to figure out better.
Yeah, well, I think what'll happen is at this building, you know, hopefully the properties sell, but if they don't, hopefully the sellers realize how prohibitive this is and pass that up the ladder. I mean, that's the only way that this will get fixed.
That's right.
Cool, guys. Well, that will just about do it for another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to drop them in the comment section below. And until next time, we'll see you then.
Thanks for watching, guys.